Ahoy, it's your boy, and today is Sunday, January 14th, and time is going by very, very fast, meaning school ended about a month ago, and although I do feel like I've lived quite a few lives in between now and then, in another sense, it's gone by very, very fast. And the reason I was thinking about this is because I actually booked my plane ticket to Taipei, and I leave in mid-February, and that's pretty much a month away too. And so it just sort of helps me contextualize. Although that feels pretty far off, you sort of have to prepare mentally because that's going to come faster than you think it will. And, you know, I'm kind of in a weird spot because I'm concurrently trying to plan for two things. One is this 3.5 months in Taiwan. And then the other thing is, excuse me, the other thing is actually next fall would be going to school in China. But the applications are. Well, it's actually kind of a weird thing. They're not technically due at the end of this month, but there are phases of applications. And if you want to be eligible for certain scholarships, you have to get your applications in at a certain time. So I'm kind of needing to get those in very quickly. And I think you know, it's kind of hard to determine. Because I sort of did two things. One, they say that they're due on like the 31st, but that's China time. So you basically it's not quite 24 hours. It's probably like 14 hours ahead or something like that. Which is actually kind of funny. I was thinking about this. Did you know that China, the entire country of China, just puts itself in a single time zone? So it's like, I haven't done the math on this, but it's like if you live in Beijing, all the way on the east coast of China, and you live kind of on the border of Tibet, all the way on the west side of China, it's the same time. But really, there's like many hours, like, it's like, does that mean that the sun rises at noon, like in Western China or something like that? I have to think about this more. This is also one of these simple things that a simple Google search might actually convey more nuance. But this is something that was communicated to me conversationally. And I don't know why I was thinking about that this week. But yeah, I was talking about my application. So those are kind of due at the end of the month. And I reached out to two people for a letter of recommendation, which is what the application requires. And I don't know why I'm worried about it, but I was in communication with one of them, and then all of a sudden our communication sort of stopped, and I sent another follow-up and I haven't heard from them. And then the other person I haven't heard anything back from. And this is somebody that I've had multiple conversations. I mean, this is, one of the professors I spent umpteen office hours with. We were very close. I took multiple classes with them, so there's no conceivable reason why they wouldn't. I mean, we even had an explicit conversation about them providing me a letter of recommendation for grad school, and yet I haven't heard back from them. So, the obvious answer seems to be we're sort of in this sort of liminal phase between two semesters, or something catastrophic has happened to them, which I don't say that lightly, or maybe I'm saying it lightly. I don't mean it lightly. I just mean that it's very unlikely for that to be the case. But the deadline is not too far off. Oh, and also I did that thing. I don't know if this is good or bad, but even though the application is due on the 31st, I sort of communicated to these people that the deadline for me was the 26th, meaning I was requesting that I get it in a little bit early just so I can have all my ducks in a row and have a couple of days to, just kind of double check things, make sure I have everything I need. And also, applying for school in China is very different than applying in the States, which is in my former job, I wrote many letters of recommendation for people. And I can't remember a time, unless it was something fairly informal, like maybe another volunteer opportunity or something like that, a job or something like that. But for school especially, you're not allowed to submit, or how do I say this? I'm not allowed to give the letter of recommendation to the individual. I have to go through some special portal where I sort of either copy paste what I've already written or type directly into it where, the applicant is sort of circumvented so they can't edit it or whatever the case may be. In China, they don't need that. I basically upload my own PDFs, so on the one hand, that's good because I get the letter of recommendations directly to me. And, with their permission, I can also repurpose them for other things. But yeah, I'm just kind of in that place. Or actually, I'll back up a little bit. And this actually, I wasn't, yeah. So there's a couple things that are coming to mind. This last week, and maybe even the week before that, maybe I should say just shortly after I sort of last broadcasted my last communication, I've been feeling really good. And part of that is I think I've just used my time. Yeah, I should say, I'm the type of person, I've talked about this before, like when I'm in school, I'm pulling whatever hair I have left out of my head because I just can't wait to get out of school. And yet, while maybe the initial week of downtime, once the semester ends, is very enjoyable, I very quickly get itchy and don't do well without structure. And, it's not like my quality of life unravels at that point, but I just get bored. And, I don't know how many of these types of experiences I need to have to sort of understand this, but I really thrive in structure. And so, having a couple deadlines or things that I need to attend to in a good amount of time, uh, has kind of given me the structure that I needed. So, making sure I get things prepared for my time in Taiwan, getting my materials together for my grad school applications in China. And also, I mentioned this TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language certification, that I've been chipping away at, which I actually finished. So, it's supposed to be about 120 hours of training, and I'm not sure that's exactly how much time I put into it. I probably finished it a bit quicker than that, but I finished that I'm sorry. I finished that in fairly short order. So, I've been doing good. And I think the other thing, I was sort of talking about this in therapy, but one of the feelings that I've actually been experiencing more recently is I don't know why I hesitate saying it, maybe because it feels a little self-helpy or whatever, but I've been feeling a lot of gratitude. And, you know, part of that is, I think, well, how do I know I'm stumbling over my words today. I think partly it's because I think some of what I've been thinking and feeling feels a little bit, yeah, a little bit gushy or whatever. And so I see myself kind of going down this road, and I'm sort of embarrassed to talk about it. But I'm gonna lean into it, and we'll just sort of talk about what comes to mind. But I've been feeling very grateful. I don't know that I've really let it sink in that I actually graduated school. I mean, even as I say it, I realize that since the end of the semester, that's not really a thought that's entered my head very frequently. And maybe part of that is because this is sort of how I do things. I immediately look for something else to focus on and start sprinting in that direction. And I kind of, cheat myself out of the opportunity of feeling a sense of accomplishment. But the truth is that, I just finished, a road that I started on 4.5 years ago. Now, it's a little bit more than, undergraduate career is normally 4 years. It's an extra semester for me because I had a double major. So I was given an additional semester to fulfill those requirements. And actually, even as I say it, it's more than 4 years. This is I'd have to crunch the numbers, but this is like a 16-year process for me. I mean, I originally, I graduated halfway through my junior year, not because I'm brilliant. I mean, I am brilliant, but not because I'm brilliant, but because I went to a bullshit high school, or I eventually transferred to a bullshit high school where you sit in front of a computer for 4 hours a day and, basically do nothing. So yeah, I just sort of finished that work very quickly. Graduated halfway through my junior year when I was like 17. And drove around the country for a couple months that summer, and came back and went to a junior college studying music. And despite a good first semester where I think I got straight A's, and maybe a second semester where I got straight A's, I had just moved out and was living on my own. And my mental health was not good, and would not be good at all. It was actually very unmanageable for about maybe 3.5 years or something, 3.5, 4 years, about there. And kind of languished at a junior college studying music, and I look back on that, and I had so many formative experiences and things that were very important and would be very important for the rest of my life, things I still continue to draw on in terms of, that musical education that I got, even though my grades weren't exceptional, was just very formative for me. And in a way, I kind of approached it the way I would approach a lot of things in my life for the next, 15 or 16 years, which was, even though I knew what I was tasked with, I would have these homework assignments. It's not, although I did a fair amount of like movie watching and just kind of chain smoking cigarettes and feeling like I was wasting time, you know, that was also a very spongy period in my life where I was just soaking up a lot of influences and, having the types of creative encounters, or I don't know if that's quite the word for it, but maybe reading the books or watching the movies, or, the types of experiences that even in my adult life I realize are things that were not only foundational, but I continue to draw on and were just very meaningful for me. And although I was not doing a lot of the homework I was assigned, I would still like go to the I was going to a junior college in Tucson, but I would go to the University of Arizona. I would go to their music library just about every day for hours and listen to music and read books and take things out. And I would like check out scores and like go to Kinko's and like make copies for myself. And I had this like library of like photocopied scores and stuff. And so the although I was not necessarily getting the education that they were setting in front of me, I was getting this whole other type of education. Um, and and in a way that was, I remember kind of this way when I was in high school and I went to a boarding school. My grades were serviceable, but I remember just spending hours in my room, just like reading books and things that were outside the curriculum, and not really attending to the homework that I had to do, but doing things that just sort of interested me. And at that time, I just was so tortured, thinking I was like wasting my time. And, in hindsight, just kind of knowing how things played out, I'm not really sure I would have changed things. I think sometimes there's a way in which we know kind of what we need. And, I just wish, it's funny for me when I'm not necessarily saying that this is my mentality, but you do hear about the kind of Steve Jobs or the Bill Gates or whatever, or the people who just, they kind of, at least what they report is kind of knowing in their gut that what was being sort of fed to them in terms of their quote education was just entirely besides the point in a certain sense, and that they had a mission and they just sort of focused on that. Now, imagine that, but without the mission. What it felt like for me is I was just sort of, um, I was going to say, just sort of dog paddling in the deep end of some great mystery that I didn't understand, but it's just what I felt called and comfortable doing. It's just what I did. It was just my natural disposition. And I spent so much of my early life just sort of berating myself and telling myself that that was evidence of just something profoundly wrong with me, that I was somehow able, I just, despite what I felt like I wanted, which was to like be able to wake up every day and go to school and just sort of function like a quote normal human being, I was spending all my time absorbed in this, what I would have called minutia or a distraction, or things that were like keeping me off task. And I don't want to dismiss that entirely, because I think that there's, especially as an adult, I think when you realize there's actually enough time for everything, when in hindsight, I could have certainly, and well, I mean, I'm a smart dude. I'm pretty intelligent uh, in certain ways, maybe not in all ways, but school is something that actually I'm pretty good at. And there was certainly enough time in the day to, even give a cursory glance or just a good enough job to my homework. And I could have done those things and still had all the time in the world that I needed for all the things that I was enjoying doing. But I didn't do that. And as I find myself in the middle of this story, I'm wondering how the hell we got here and why I'm talking about it. Maybe just to say that, yeah, so that was a period of my life. And yeah, so finished, yeah, I just sort of languished at a junior college for like 3.5 years, ended up moving to California. And 2 years later, I had this sort of blip on the radar where I sort of made a brief attempt to sort of return to school. And I went, and this is how I just look back on this and I realize how stupid I am. I was living in Berkeley, literally 2 blocks from what is Berkeley City College, which is a junior college in Berkeley, California. And I have no fucking idea why, but I registered for a semester of classes at Diablo Valley College out in Concord or Walnut Creek or some. It's basically like in traffic, it's like a 30 to 45-minute drive. Like, you have to go through the Caldecott Tunnel, and like, why the fuck I did that, I don't know. It's because I literally didn't have it in me to do any cursory research about what to do. I maybe I worked with someone who went there, or I don't fucking know what I was thinking. But I basically had an aborted semester of classes there where I just stopped going like maybe like 4 weeks before the end of the semester. I look back on my transcripts. I did fail one of my classes. How I got like a D in one class and a C in another. And I took this class, Primate Adaptation and Evolution. I got an A in that class. How that happened, I have no fucking idea. The only thing I remember of that class is for like the first 3 weeks, we had this like sensible professor. And I think something happened to them. I think they had a death in the family, or something was not good with them. They basically had to step away for the semester, and that person was replaced. I say this kind of comically, but it's just observably true, with a woman who was legitimately like mentally ill, and was, I don't know if they were in some kind of manic psychotic episode or something like that. But this woman would just come to class every day and just talk at us. And it was just like word salad and often nonsensical. And I just remember this. The only thing I remember really is this moment where she said something, maybe something related to the textbook. And someone in the class raised their hand and just sort of contradicted them and said, like, I don't think that's true. And we all had to like turn to our textbook and like look at it. And we saw that the teacher was not right. And the teacher just sort of, it's just one of these absurd things that adults do sometimes that as a kid don't make a lot of sense. But as an adult, you look back and it's all the evidence you need that adults, many of them are dumb. Or I'll put it this way. That's too misanthropic. There's just nothing about adulthood that guarantees that somebody has their shit together. And the teacher legitimately tried to convince us that they knew that it was wrong and said it on purpose to test us. And she made some type of platitudinous like proclamation. It's like, that's why you shouldn't believe everything that you're told. And if you do, you're a sheep or something like that. And it was just one of these absurd moments where I just didn't know what was going on. And so I don't know if maybe the school just like gave everybody an A in that class or what was going on. But really the only reason I'm even like barking up this tree or talking about all this stuff is, the fact that I finished, I got my bachelor's degree is, it's been a long time coming, and it's not really something that it's not something I give myself a lot of time to think about. But yeah, even saying it feels a little bit weird. I think in some way too, there's some embarrassment that is sort of accompanies that. Although it's nice to say that I sort of got my degree, at the end of the day, there's still a big part of me that feels like I should have gotten it a long time ago. But, in another way too, I mean, coming back to my education as an adult, I'm also a completely different person. I mean, one thing I still haven't really figured out, and I'll have to sort of, I don't know, one day I'll have to sort of figure out the math, is I languished at a junior college for 3.5 years, but I still passed, the all of my classes. I mean, there was a couple that I sort of withdrew from. I don't think I got any Fs during that period or failed any classes. And yet when I returned to school, I still spent 2 hours, or it's not 2 hours. I spent two years at a junior college before I was able to transfer. And I still saw that a lot of those, a fair amount of the sort of general education, maybe not the music stuff that I took, which was the vast majority of my classes. Some of those general education stuff like English and writing and all that sort of stuff like transferred over. So why I still spent 2 years at a junior college, I don't know. But that's just the way it sort of, that's the way it sort of played out. And then spending 2.5 years, 5 semesters at Berkeley. I was just a much better student. I mean, but for 1 B+ that I got in my 4th semester of Mandarin, your boy got straight A's. And what do I don't know. I guess I tell myself that if, the fact that I'm able to do it, the fact that I'm able to do it today while I was working full time, which I think says a lot about me too. Um, except for the last semester, I suppose. But because I was able to do it now, I guess just sort of assumed that I should have always been able to do that, or I always had that in me. And maybe on some level I did. I mean, if my mental health or my life circumstances were such that I maybe wasn't inhibited or impeded in the way that I was, maybe I could have gotten straight A's when I was younger. But that's not the way it happened. And yeah, I think I may have mentioned this last time too, or semi recently, which is, there's something unique about my experience, like being an undergraduate student as an adult as well, because it sort of has gotten me, I was able to spend time with like young people. And, uh, it's not something I'd be eager to return to, or, not that I won't be around younger people. One, when I go to Taiwan, I mean, my language study, inevitably, most of the people who go to Taiwan to study Mandarin are younger college age students. I expect that there will be a couple of adults, but I can probably look forward to spending the next 3.5 months in class with younger people. I can almost certainly expect to be around, maybe the mean age will sort of go up, but generally younger people than me when I'm in graduate school. But that was an interesting experience, and not something that I think most people get, which is, I sort of have my mind is sort of being pulled in one direction, which is as I get older, I'm surprised to see myself, at least compared to the younger generation, being sort of evaluated as being more or right of where they stand in terms of their left position. Again, even though I consider myself a leftist and relatively progressive, I feel myself being sort of by default categorized as being a comparatively conservative thinker. And maybe some of that happens with age generally, but being around younger people, it just gives me, even though there's plenty to be critical of, I think having to have spend time with younger people gives me just a bigger appreciation of what their lives are like and what they're going through. And, although I wasn't raised, in a generation that didn't have a telephone and transportation was a horse and buggy, I do think that it's it made a strong impression on me to realize, although we're all affected by social media, to really see what growing up in a world of social media has how that has formed and shaped the psyche and the self-conception and the social capacity of young people is very interesting. I mean, when I was college age, I probably did have a cell phone, but I remember like getting my first pager, which must just sound like a dark ages technology to younger people. But even then, the cell phone was not the smartphone. I didn't get my first smartphone until I was like in my early 20s. And I mean, even then, I felt my life, the sort of ecosystem of your life changes like very rapidly. I remember I was dating a girl who had an iPhone, I presumably one of the first ones. And I just had like my old Nokia. I was able to like do fundamental texting or whatever, but there's no internet. The pictures are dog shit. Just kind of a crap phone generally. And was eventually evangelized to, I don't think my first smartphone was an iPhone. I think it was like a Samsung or something like that. But you just feel the ecosystem of your life change when you do that. And why am I talking about that? Maybe just to say, although I'm exposed to that technology and I think I understand it, I also was introduced to it at a late age. I really haven't. I mean, one thing that I always say too is it's like when I was a kid, first of all, there's one thing that just jumped into my mind is like we had like a school directory. It wasn't like you went through the halls and got everyone's number into your cell phone. There was literally a school directory that everybody was issued that had, some people would object or recuse themselves from being included in it. But for the most part, it was this directory you were given, like the phone book, which also must sound laughable to people, that had everyone's name and phone number. And that was how you called people. And when you did, it was on a landline. And who knew who was going to answer the phone when you called? And all sorts of weird things that, uh, young people probably wouldn't appreciate in terms of landlines and all that sort of shit. But the thing was, is like when this, and I guess this is a little, I would qualify this a little bit because we did have things like AOL Instant Messenger and chat rooms, and certainly this was the beginning of people sort of starting this sort of constant communication or connection, but very different than social media and Instagram and all that sort of stuff. But basically, when the school day ended, and you like didn't see these people for the rest of the day. Or like when the winter break happened, you didn't, I mean, you may have had one or two friends that you stayed in touch with, but you didn't see these people ever, or especially for the summer. It would almost be like, I mean, people would like the summer would happen, the semester would end, people would go home and come back entirely different people. It was crazy. People would gain weight, people would lose weight, people would change their entire style. Maybe they were a prep the year before, but now they're in 8th grade and they're going to be goth or something like that. And, the constant contact that young people have with each other, the incessant feeling of accountability is always there. And even being on the crisis lines, it sounds sort of like a soundbite to say it, but the amount of online bullying that happens is just relentless. And, it's just sort of put young people in a very difficult situation. Anyway, I feel like I'm sort of talking outside what I really know and understand, but yeah, I don't know. This is just a long, bloviating way of saying that I graduated, and that's a good thing. And yeah. So gratitude. I think gratitude was a word I was talking about before. But yeah, I feel very lucky that I finished this one chapter of my life, and I feel grateful that I have some downtime that I can choose to spend how I want, and that I have the means and the resources to return to Taiwan. And I'm just gonna do that, and I'm gonna chill, and feel very fortunate that I'm only going to be applying to one grad school, and we can revisit this conversation when I'm disappointed that I didn't get in, and then I really don't know what I'm going to do. But I feel pretty confident that I'm a competitive applicant, and but yeah, maybe I just feel like I finished one chapter of my life, and I finished very well. And if you had asked me in my early 20s, I would have said, I have no intentions of returning to school. Hell, if you asked me in my early 30s, I would have said I had no intention of returning to my education. But I'm glad that I did. And in a way, it's kind of, maybe one of the ways I feel grateful is that in a way I've kind of gotten to do it all, you know? I mean, I know so many people who, when I first started playing music in Arizona, at least for me, my sense was that they never really tried, for lack of a better word. And and in a way, I think our trajectories have been kind of reversed, because through the advent of social media, I've seen some of the people that I first started playing music with kind of return to music in their adult life, which I hope is very fulfilling for them. But it communicates to me on some level, there was this sense that there was, what could have happened if I had just sort of stuck with this. And I just feel, and there's a lot of circumstances that allowed me to do this. I mean, that it's just not possible for other people. But the fact that, even though it didn't work out ultimately, that I did give a decade to my life, more really. I mean, 12, 13, I don't know, I'd have to do the math, maybe 14 years of, trying to do music for a living, and seeing what that experience would bring me. And, it took me to places I just never could have imagined and anticipated. And, just showed me, a whole different way of living. I mean, it's funny, it's the things that you just don't really think about that somehow become the tent pole memories of that time period. Or like, I remember the very first, I actually don't remember the first time I was on stage after now. Oh, actually, I do actually. I was going to say, I don't remember the first time I was on stage, but I do remember playing. I hadn't like sung or performed in front of anybody for a number of years, and sort of forced myself to go to this open mic at a place formerly called Beckett's. I think it was called Beckett's at the time. It may have been called something else, but it was had been a longstanding Irish bar in Berkeley. that had I think it was a Wednesday open mic, and I lived around the corner, and I sort of got myself, steeled my courage and sort of went there and sang a song of mine. I believe I sang a song called Crooked Books. Sorry, I have to get some water. And I don't remember if it was like a sign up process, or I can't remember how I got my name on the list, but I knew my time was coming up. And I remember kind of standing off to the side of the stage in this like little stairwell area with this other young woman who was performing ostensibly. And just like literally, I was like nervous, shaking. And, you know, I remember her kind of checking in with me, just kind of asking me my name and what I was going to do. And I remember I just really couldn't even tolerate talking to her. Not that she was unpleasant. I just like couldn't, I was just so I was just driven to distraction, literally. And I remember I went up and did my thing, and I think I did well enough. And, she had some really nice things to say, but I just like couldn't hang out. I literally threw my guitar in my bag, said thank you, and like left. I did not hang out for the rest of the night. And then I think it was probably a number of months or weeks or something before I mustered the nerve to go to, there's another Irish bar that had a very great open mic called the Starry Plough. And another very famous venue in Berkeley that has a open mic as often as they can called Freight and Salvage. So that period I really remember. But what the thing that I really remember though is this, playing open mics. It was like, I would start getting nervous. If the open mic started at 8, and who knows when you actually hit the stage, maybe you'll be on at like 1 a.m. or something like that. But I remember knowing there was an open mic in the evening, starting to get nervous around noon. Like I would be at my day job at the restaurant and starting to think about it. And the most difficult part of that time period was because I knew I got off at like 4 or 5 or something like that. And you've already put in a day of work, right? Like most people get home and that's when they kick up their feet, cook dinner, maybe smoke the joint or start having the beer or whatever it is. And you would actually have to tolerate, the period, whether it was, I think maybe I may have gotten off at like 3 or something like that. But the point is I had to tolerate that period between the time you got off work when you would normally get to relax and needing to clock on again at 8 o'clock and not talking myself out of it. And I wasn't always successful, but needing to talk myself out of it. And just, I would have these experiences that as I went through my sort of creative thing, I would have this over and over again. But especially in the beginning, like I would have these moments where I would be like packing my guitar and I would be standing in my apartment and I would be very like present and mindful of this thought of like, okay, I'm about to step out my front door to do this thing that terrifies me. And I have no idea how it's going to go, but I am anticipating the time where I will return to this apartment. I will literally walk back in the door with this experience behind me. And that is going to be something that I will be, proud about. And so as scared as I am, as much as I don't want to do it, as much as I want to throw my guitar back down and just drink a beer and watch a movie or something like that, to spare myself the embarrassment or the fear of doing this thing that terrifies me, I am going to force myself to do it. I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other, force myself to do it so I can have that experience where I walk back in the apartment, And just as I sort of went through things, that I just remember having that experience over and over again, but, on the cusp of a new venture. So like at first it was open mics, and then it became like booking and playing shows and that sort of thing. And the one that really sticks in my mind for some reason, maybe just because it was such a exceptional experience, is, I don't know that I've ever talked about this really, but I was actually invited to audition for The Voice. And so, I honestly don't know how the whole process goes. I've only heard about it anecdotally. But for the most part, I think they do like these sort of group auditions at hotels and something like that. But but what they also do is they have producers from the show, and they're usually probably just like teenage interns or people that they don't pay or whatever, who like scour the internet and just look for people who are moderately talented that they can, that they just invite to audition for the show. And so basically that's what happened to me. I was approached to audition. And so I sent in, I had to record a video and then got the formal invitation. and they basically slot you in like round 2 or 3 of the auditions. So maybe there's, I guess what I heard anecdotally when I sort of showed up for that experience in Los Angeles and Burbank, I was around some other people. I mean, it's not a ton of people. It's not these huge cattle call things. By that point, they've gotten rid of a lot of people. Not that they're not that you're anywhere near the actual show. I just mean, it's almost like, have you seen Squid Game? Like you watch Squid Game and it like starts with like 400 people, but after the first game, there's like 200 people. You know what I mean? Like most of the people die in the first round. Spoiler alert. I'm saying that is my sense of what The Voice is. And so I show up basically to this like studio in Burbank, and this is the point I'm really trying to make is that I rented an Airbnb in Burbank, and I think I could literally walk to it from the airport, and I could also literally walk from the Airbnb I was staying at to the Burbank studios, where the auditions were being held. And I remember standing in that apartment, like, I'm going to walk to this thing and I have no idea what the fuck is going to happen. And then at some point tonight, it could be an hour, it could be 4 hours, 5 hours. I have no idea what I'm about to do. I'm going to walk back into this fucking Airbnb with this experience behind me. And that is going to be something to look forward to or something like that. And I'll just say very quickly, I mean, it was kind of a weird experience because you sort of show up and then there's like people who maybe like recognize each other from the previous round. I don't know anybody. And they send you in like batches of 6 or something to this sound stage. And you have like, you and 5 other strangers. You're all just kind of small talking or whatever outside of this big sound stage door. And I don't know if you can picture that. But you just know that behind this huge double black door is like a soundstage where they might even build a set to shoot a movie or something like that. But you can hear the person auditioning because I'm pretty sure it's amplified. But you just kind of wait your turn. And I forget what it is, but I think you prepare like 2 or 3 songs. Like if you're an instrumentalist like me and you have a guitar, you prepare maybe 2 or 3 songs with the guitar. And then they ask you to prepare one a cappella. Or maybe to a pre-recorded instrumental thing. I honestly can't remember how it went. But when it's your turn, you basically get called in. And the first thing you're sort of taken back by is the enormity of the space. It's just this absolutely huge soundstage. And it's all very dark. And there's just like a single spotlight where you see that you're going to be standing. And there's a couple like producers or executives, like maybe 3 or 4 of them at this table in the dark. And there's a couple cameras that have a couple operators and they're sort of pointed at you. But you also have there's another camera that's pointed at you where there's executives or producers who are watching your audition remotely. And so at some point you have to address them. I don't remember what they ask you to do. But I remember the instruction that they gave me was to like sing into the camera with your eyes open. And the audition went like okay for the most part. I've talked about this thing about nerves. And it's interesting, I'm thinking about this because this is what, your first open mics are like this especially. Whereas like when you're watching a role, like sometimes people ask what your experience is like on stage. Well, when you're in your element, when you're in the pocket, when you're in the groove, you could literally be thinking about laundry and also be, performing exceptionally well. But there's this other experience where performing is a bit like being on a roller coaster. And what I mean by that is I don't just mean like the ups and downs and the turns, but there's a difference between when you look at a roller coaster, it looks very smooth. But when you're in the roller coaster, the thing that of course there's up and down and there's speed and all that sort of stuff. But the thing that you can't really communicate about the experience of riding a roller coaster is the rattle. Because of course, if you're on like an old and wooden roller coaster, there's more shake. But even on like a metal roller coaster, there's just a certain amount of your head just like constantly being rattled and paint canned around. And, it's just not a smooth ride. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though it looks smooth, there's a turbulence on top of the up and down and the loop to loop. There's just a general like turbulence to the experience, and performing can be that way. And as long as you stay in a band of turbulence, and I'm talking about your subjective internal turbulence, you're okay. But especially when you first hit the stage and you're adjusting to the lights and the audience watching you, and especially that first moment where you breathe in and sing into the microphone And even if you had a sound check, it's really that first moment of hearing your voice come back to you through the monitors or the PA, hearing how you sound in the room. It's just, there's just a lot of unknowns, and it's like jumping into a body of water or something like that. It's that first you're acclimating to the temperature of that experience. That's all part of the turbulence. And sometimes there's a moment where you're realizing, you're just hyper conscious of yourself. Maybe the sound is not coming back the way you want, and you're trying to adjust. And there's just a lot of things that you're trying to dial in very quickly where you feel like, oh, this could go off the fucking rails right now. It's the type of thing that, like in the movies, when they portray this, it's always someone who is giving a speech and you can sense that their mouth is starting to dry out and they start stuttering over their words a little bit. And then the camera cuts to the audience and it's, the camera does a little bit of in and out focusing and you feel the bright lights. And then they have a couple beads of sweat coming down their forehead. And then they always do that thing where the microphone feeds back a little bit, to sort of, make it drive the point home that things are not going very well. And then the person usually, sometimes they say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't. And they like walk off stage. It's that type of moment where the person's facing the fear of this is exactly the quality of turbulence I didn't want to experience. And now that it's happening, I don't feel like I can get through this. And I'm just going to have to abort mission. I'm going to have to the ejector button on the seat, right? And you have to pull it together very quickly. Now, I remember I was like starting to do the audition and it was going very well. And I was singing my songs and I was well prepared. And I could tell that they were enjoying it. They had nice things to say after each song. And then there was a moment where I had to do this a cappella thing. And I already felt naked because I normally sing and play with a guitar. I didn't know what to fucking do with my body. Now, if I was smart, I would have just gotten into it. And whether I danced or whatever, I just would have just committed to it. But I did exactly the type of thing that you don't want to do in any type of situation, which is just kind of capitulate and kind of, I don't know, you kind of curl up into yourself and you just try to like grin and bear it. And I was just kind of standing there awkwardly knowing that I looked stupid. And I think I closed my eyes at one point. And when I open them, I see one of the producers like waving me down. And I sort of stop and I go, because I thought they were telling me to like stop singing. And she gave me this instruction like, oh, will you open your eyes or something like that? And so I start singing again with my eyes open, and it was just not good. It was just awful. I just sort of fell apart in that last thing. And it was so weird because when I finished, I forget how, but it was very natural or conversationally for me to say, oh, yeah, when I opened my eyes, it just was less comfortable for me. And she said something like, oh, yeah, we enjoyed it less as well, or something like that. She gave me some type of feedback that like confirmed, oh, yeah, when you opened your eyes, yeah, you weren't as good. And I was like, all right, I'm not really sure what to do with that. But for better or worse, I moved on to the next round of the audition, which basically just meant they pulled me into another room and I did this kind of filmed interview. I mean, some people just went home. I saw some people walk out of that room and they just like walked out the door. I think of the 6 people that I was with or something, I think I was the only one who went and got this sort of video done. They sort of pull you into a back room and you sit there with an intern, again, who's probably done hundreds of these and couldn't care less about you, asking you questions about who you are. And I think they just want to get a sense of like what you're like conversationally and on camera. Never heard anything after that. I mean, I left there knowing that was an experience, but one, I didn't enjoy it. I would not look forward to doing more of this. And also pretty clear that, I would have been flabbergasted if I heard back from them to do anything else. So what are we talking about? Yeah, wow, isn't that a weird way to get in? Really what I began with was talking about that experience of like being in the hotel room or being in that Airbnb. And yeah, just that experience of like, I'm gathering my things, I'm walking out the door, I have no idea what I'm about to encounter or what it will be like. But the one thing I do know is unless I get hit by a commuter train on the way home, I will be walking back into this Airbnb and I will be standing in the exact same space with that experience behind me. And that will be something to look forward to. And that's basically just what my life has been in a lot of ways. And actually, from that experience, I remember just going back to the hotel, to that Airbnb that I was staying at. And it was like this in-law, it was like a guest house or something, a sort of detached unit in somebody's home. And I remember laying in bed reading Faust I was reading Goethe's Faust. And yeah, I just remember that. Just kind of, I was there for one day. I literally flew in one day, spent the night, flew out the next morning. Yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, so the point I'm trying to make though is, I mean, I had that experience like when I flew to Taiwan. Well, when I went to Middlebury the summer before last, leaving my apartment going, all right, I'm about to go to this immersion program in Vermont, where I've never been, to only speak Chinese for 2 months. And when I come back, this will be my apartment. And I felt the exact same way when I went to Taipei, which I was terrified of. I mean, I didn't know if I was going to love or hate it. But like, getting your bags and going, oh, wow, I'm about to be gone for 2 months and I'm going to walk back into this apartment with that experience behind me and I'll be a different person in some sense. And, I'm about to have that with going to Taipei this time for 3.5 months, an even longer period. But in a much bigger way, I'm sure when we revisit this conversation, when I'm, assuming all goes well, when I'm packing up this apartment and like heading off to graduate school in China. And then that'll be even weirder because not only will I be stepping out of this chapter of my life and this place, then I'm sort of committing to a process where I actually don't know where I'll end up at the end of that. Again, just having to trust that process. But that's where I'm at. I mean, you may be listening to this and saying, well, duh, dude, that's what life is. And I've done that 1,000 times. And I guess in a way I'm saying I've done it too, but I'm not trying to impress you with the uniqueness of my experience. I'm actually hoping that you relate to it and it may not be the same thing, whether it's the open mic or traveling or whatnot, but that you have, the thing in your life. That you have some equivalent, that exactly what I'm talking about. That moment of standing in there and being like, okay, I'm about to step out my front door, and yet I'm returning to this same place afterwards with the experience behind me, and that will be an accomplishment. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like, what is it? The Hobbit, the subtitle is like There and Back Again. And that's the, the hero's journey over and over again. I've actually been, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I started reading The Lord of the Rings, and there's a couple things. I've had trouble sort of starting and finishing books lately, which is I sort of told myself I was going to read every encyclopedic novel, which I'm sure we've talked about, so I won't bore you with it. But I read The Divine Comedy, and I read which I had already read like once or twice when I was younger. But at this point, I'm like, as of the beginning of last semester, or maybe the beginning of the summer, I was like 2/3 of the way through the last part, Paradiso, or Heaven, or Paradise, or what do you want to call it. And I haven't been able to finish it. I'm looking at it here on my left. And then I started reading this biography, this sort of tome-length biography of Huey Long, which I got like a couple chapters into and haven't looked at. So I told myself I was going to read Lord of the Rings. And why did I can't even remember why that sort of got on my radar. But on my right-hand side here, I'm looking and I have a copy of Fellowship of the Ring, which I'm, a couple chapters left in. But I have the rest of the trilogy to look forward to. But yeah, I don't know. What else is on my mind? I guess the other thing I did laundry this morning. Well, I guess one thing I sort of was, I had sort of anticipated that I was going to talk about the gratitude and all that sort of stuff. I don't know how it really figures into gratitude, but one thing I've just been like spending my days doing is just attending to the tasks that need to get done each day. I was talking last time about all of a sudden it dawns on me, oh, I'm in the shower. Oh, I need to do X. And I just execute, I just, even though it's like, the early evening or something, I go, oh, I have to take care of that. And I just sort of do it. And it's the same thing day to day here, whether it's, oh, all of a sudden I got some feedback and I need to rewrite this personal statement, or all of a sudden I need to, I realize I have to get this medical form filled out. Well, I got to schedule the Kaiser appointment, or I have to go to the Kaiser appointment, or, when they finally had the paperwork done for me, and this is over last week, I sort of show up, and of course I come in when the office is closed for lunch, so I have to wait 45 minutes and get the thing, and then I go home. But it's like just ticking things off the box and dealing with things as they come. And it sounds like a small thing, but it's actually been very fulfilling, and I've enjoyed that. That's kind of been what my life is. Like yesterday, I sort of woke up, and the first thing I did, I have these lights by my bed, but I just turn on the light over my kitchen, and there's just like this flash, right? and two separate lights, like in two different parts of my living area, just sort of blew. I don't know what that was about. But it was like, oh, I need to go to Home Depot and get some bulbs. Oh, and while I'm there, I'll get some needle nose pliers, and I got something else. Oh, I can't remember what it is. But it was like, oh, that's just, I wasn't anticipating that. It feels like a bummer right now, but that's something I have to do. And so I just have the time to like take care of that. And that sounds like small stuff, but I don't know. It's just been, fulfilling to kind of live that way and to be able to do that. And I feel silly saying it, but the point is I think the whole thing about gratitude is I just feel very lucky that I've gotten to do it all in my life so far. I was able to, I know what it's like to be a shitty student, but I also know what it's like to like pursue your dreams for quite a bit of time. And I know what it's like to look up and decide that that's not really taking you where you want to go and having to retool. And, I got the undergraduate experience and I did very well. I went to the #1 public school in the country and got great grades and had a lot of other honors. I was able to go to Middlebury Language School and study Chinese, and I was awarded a scholarship to study Chinese in Taipei. And, and I'm choosing to go back there and enjoy my time for 3.5 months and, practice some more Mandarin, but also just spend time in a place that I, would never have gone to otherwise. But for, originally I had chosen comparative literature as my major, but they're like, oh, you have to read a foreign language. And I was like, oh shit. So needing to learn Chinese. And I literally remember like years before that being in therapy when I was adamant I would never return to my education. Even then I knew my primary interest, if I would return to school, would be like Chinese philosophy. But I remember announcing to my therapist, like, but that's never going to happen. I mean, I'm never going to learn Chinese. There's just no way. And I sort of knew that. I just sort of knew that about myself. And then lo and behold, like a couple years later, it doesn't sound like such a bad idea. And honestly, it was I sort of bitch and complain. I talk about, oh, I don't know why I spent 2 years at a junior college. Well, one of the things was that I had horrible advisors, and I ended up taking an additional semester of chemistry I didn't fucking need. I took a semester of calculus that I didn't fucking need, and got an A in both of those classes. And I bet, but for those experiences, I may not have taken Chinese, meaning one of the things I had always told myself growing up is like, oh, I'm an arts person. I'm a literature person, which I am. I'm not a math person, was one of the things that I sort of had in my mind. And I'm not a math person, that's for sure. But it was like taking those like chemistry and calculus and like still getting in, not that I can't pretend to really understand those things, but to know that I can be a good enough student, right? I can sort of gamify the system to do well enough in the class to get an A. And so, but for those experiences, I probably would never have learned Chinese. It was only on the heels of like having done fairly well in those classes that I was like, well, I mean, I guess if I could do calculus and whatever, I maybe I could learn Chinese. Like maybe I'm just telling myself that it's impossible. Now, flash forward to the present where, I really take inventory sometimes, and I think, in terms of the calendar, it's been a little over 2 years since I started learning Chinese. But I've had like 5 years of input. I've had 4, formal semesters of modern Mandarin. I've had 2 2-month immersion experiences, plus a year of classical Chinese. And so I've had like 5 years of input, and I go, I still feel like pretty fundamental. I definitely don't feel like my Chinese is where it should be given the input that I've had. I mean, I'm about to go to this, Mandarin program in Taiwan, and I've sort of downloaded the textbooks that they use to just kind of see where they're at. And I'm still feeling like I have no idea where I'm going to get placed. Like I should be like, based on where the classes I've taken, I should be hyper advanced, but I'm really not, I had this sort of, it's called an OPI examination, oral proficiency interview, I think, at the end of my time in Taipei. And even though the grade I got at the end of that was intermediate advanced, I definitely don't feel like that is where I sit at generally. So, I mean, especially this semester, I've I was kind of keeping things up for a while. I had a couple language partners, but I really haven't kept my language study up. So we'll see where things fall. One of the things I had actually hoped to talk about, and I'm saying we probably won't have enough time to get into it really, is I think I was just starting to get into this when I was talking about doing laundry, but I spoke with my brother earlier today, and one of the things that he mentioned, which everybody seems to be watching recently, is this Katt Williams interview that he did on the some podcast where he sort of takes Hollywood to task and sort of calls out all these other people. And just something I've been thinking about recently, and my brother and I were kind of breaking it down too, because at least from my perspective, I'm not going to speak for my brother, but for me, it was one of these interesting things because the response that people have had to it seems to communicate so much about where we're at in the world, which is you have a contingency of people who are just like, yeah, Katt Williams speaking truth to power, calling people out, saying how it actually is. And actually, I have to admit, I was going to say that there's some sort of contrary voice to that. I actually haven't heard a lot of that. I haven't heard a lot of criticism. I mean, I've seen some videos where, at least from the headline, purport that the people that get called out are responding to Katt Williams' criticisms or something like that. But I actually haven't heard a contingency of people who have a lot of critical things to say about it. But that's confounding to me because I watched the entire interview, or most of it, I should say. I think it's probably almost 2.5, maybe even 3 hours. There was a couple points where I had to click the fast forward, the 5-second fast forward button to, not, maybe 5 minutes at a time to just get through, because it's a very tedious fucking conversation. I mean, Katt Williams' presentation is very annoying. And you just think, if I had to spend the real hero of that interview is the interviewer. I forget his name. He's some famous football player. But he did a great job of getting Katt Williams to just keep talking, but also make some kind of thoughtful objections. I can't quite put it into words, but I mean, that was just really exceptional. That was a brilliant moment where a lot of interviewers would have tried to get in there, but it was he seemed to understand, I just need to get the fuck out of the way. And it was so funny because it was interesting because Katt Williams had a lot of interesting things to say, which I think a lot of people need to think about in terms of Hollywood and stuff. But some of the stuff he says just can't be true. He talks about he and Ludacris being invited into this Kabbalistic Illuminati type meeting where they were basically offered, I think it was him and Ludacris, and they make this claim Ludacris was offered $200 million for 10 movies. And it was just no, it doesn't fucking work that way. That's not how movies are made. You know what I mean? And the other person was Katt Williams. And so Katt Williams just kind of went off and did his thing. And it's just very fucking silly. But the thing that, in a way where you realize that he's not all wrong, which is he says multiple times in the interview, he's like, oh, this is going to be the biggest episode. And in a way, it's kind of Trumpian when he says that, right? But he's like, this is going to be the biggest episode you ever do. And he's absolutely fucking right. It's absolutely bizarre because a week ago, Katt Williams was on nobody's fucking radar. And then he just does this interview where he fucking shoots fireballs. And it's at least when I watched it, the video already had 45, 50 million views or something like that. And I'm sure it's just going up and up and up. But fucking crazy, man. Yeah, again, we don't have a lot of time. We got to sort of wrap it up here in a second. But I've been thinking about that video and thinking about people's evangelism about it. What is it about this video that speaks to people? And whether it's right or wrong, and I think there's a lot of shit. I think there's a lot he says in that it's fucking nuts. But it's in a way, it's kind of related to this thing that I noticed with Jim Carrey, which is right as the sort of woke thing was becoming a thing, Jim Carrey had sort of reinvented or reintroduced himself as this sage-like enlightened character. Where to me, I mean, I don't pretend to know anything that's going on in Jim Carrey's life, really. I mean, I think he may have had a girlfriend die or something. So he has some tragedy that was happening concurrent in his life, but his entire presentation to me communicated that he was not well. That although the words he was saying were fine and commendable and sound good to some people, that on a deep level there was something not right with him, that what we were witnessing was actually like a response to trauma, or I don't know what it was, but something like that. It was disturbing. I would see him speak and talk and my skin would crawl. And there's something like that with Katt Williams too, where I go, well, a broken clock is right twice a day, and Katt Williams is saying a lot of things that I think are very intelligent and thoughtful and poignant, and yet his overarching presentation communicates to me that something is wrong with him. Like, he's a megalomaniacal narcissist, and there's something just very dangerous about celebrating that. And the reason I'm confused is because Kanye West is like the exact same thing. Like, he's not well. You know what I mean? And yet people sort of criticize him. And it makes me think, like, what is the big difference between Katt Williams and Kanye West, where Katt Williams can go on this podcast and bloviate and take shots at people and just sort of speak, like, kind of ridiculously about the world and Hollywood and how they operate and all that sort of stuff. And people love it. And yet Kanye West sort of goes off on a tangent and people excoriate him. Now, as I'm saying this, I feel like I need to qualify it and say, I'm fully aware that Kanye West has said horribly, like, anti-Semitic things and is pro-Trump, but I'm partitioning that conveniently. See how I do that? I'm partitioning that because that was actually latter. I'm talking about before that. I mean, when he first started talking about, I mean, in a way, his sort of like Trumpian, I don't know if it's Farrakhan, instantiated sort of anti-Semitism or something like that. A lot of that was him just sort of digging deeper into the public response to his sort of initial sort of criticisms or something like that. I think that was him, like, saying, taking that ball and running with it. But it's like, why can even the sort of mundane megalomaniacalism or narcissism of Kanye West gets him crucified, whereas Katt Williams, who to me has a very disturbing presentation on this podcast, even though he says some very interesting and thoughtful things, why is he sort of held up as this, like, folk hero? And I don't know, not something we have enough time to get into, or maybe even that I really care about, but something I've been thinking about nonetheless. But be that as it may, we've run our course here, and so let's leave some time for ourselves this evening to enjoy things, take things as they come, and I'm very grateful for where my life is today, and I hope that you have some opportunities and, I don't know, to feel grateful about where you're at. And thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thank you for your time, and ciao for now.